Hey guys, my name is Nia. Welcome back to my channel. Today I will be going over outlining your watercolor paintings and how outlines can change the character of your paintings. Today we are going to apply outlines to leaves because it's simple, and I find the experiments like this is best applied to simple subjects that you can play around with really quickly and easily. I'm just going to use these materials right here for the outlines, and I will go over them later with detail with you. So of course, before we begin outlining, I will show you how I paint the leaves, just so you can follow along if you want to use the same subject to experiment with these outlines. We're going to go straight to colors because this one is really simple, and if you need further details on how to paint leaves, I suggest going to my how to paint leaves tutorial. The colors that I will be using is Viridian, Yellow Green, Permanent Yellow Deep, and Ivory Black. Here I'm just showing you how I apply the paint on my palette. I just lay them down where the paint can mingle with each other because we're basically using the same hue. So I place them next to each other where they can be easily mixed, and if I want my green to look more warm, I would pull over a bit more yellow, and if I want the green to look darker, I would pull and mix in more of the Viridian and the black, so you get the idea. Here I'm just swatching them so you can see. Mixing colors this way also allows you to create different greens, which is more fun, and I personally like it because I find that it makes the subject look more natural and not one-dimensional in terms of color. I'm just going to number the colors now so you can see the mixtures that I've made. Of course though, if you vary the amount of each color, the green will also change. Here I'm just going to show you how I would roughly paint the leaves. It's basically a play on your brush pressure where the point of the leaves start with the tip of your brush, and as it widens, you put more pressure so the bristles of your brush spreads to cover more area, and as you come back to a tip, you take the pressure off again. Just get used to these movements by putting pressure and pulling it away again from your paper as you drag your brush down until you are comfortable. Once you are comfortable, you can even play with the direction in which your leaves are facing by wiggling and rotating your brush slightly as you paint. I find that this is also a good chance for you to practice your brush control, so you can use a larger size round brush and see how well you can paint. Just with the tip, just do straight lines over and over again, and then switch to a smaller brush and do the same thing. And I find that after you try to control the larger brush, the smaller ones become even easier to control, so try giving this a go. I'm just going to go over the liners that I will be using really quickly. So the first one, I'm using a normal fine liner. This is a size 0.05 though, so it's really thin. Depending on the thickness of your liners, it may also play a part on the character of your painting. And then I'm also using colored liners. The brand that I'm using here is called Next, and I'm using the brown color. Then I'm going to also use the Stabilo red. It's really well-known brand, so I'm sure you can find it really easily. And last but not least, I'm also going to use just my normal brush and watercolor for outlining too. The brand really doesn't matter for the pens. You don't have to use the same as mine, just experiment with whatever you have available, and also make sure that you know if your fine liners are waterproof or not before you use it. Mine isn't, the colored ones anyway, so I would make sure that my paint is completely dry so it doesn't bleed out, and I wouldn't outline anything before I paint. Okay, so once you're happy and comfortable with those simple movements and the play on your brush pressure, we can get straight to painting. We're basically repeating the leaves over and over again. Firstly, I'm going to start with a lighter mixture of the green, and I'm going to paint the leaves and the stem going down. See that I'm making sure that the leaves don't look the same. You want to create a little bit of variety and movement. I'm going to do less leaves on the other side so it doesn't look too flat and symmetrical. Next, I'm going to pick up the darker green, and this time I'm going to paint the top leaf and also adding on another layer by painting in between of the leaves that we've already painted. This creates the illusion of depth, and the branch looks more dimensional this way just from using 2 shades of green. The same rule still applies with the lighter leaves. I just try to make sure that no leaves are symmetrical or identical to each other to make it look more realistic in terms of composition. Once you're done, if there are any puddles that you don't like, you can also smooth it out a little bit by just dragging it across or absorbing the excess paint with a dry brush. And now I'm just going to repeat this again, and this time I'm using a thinner consistency paint so it will look lighter even though the colors are the same because it has a bit more water and less paint. And I'm just going to basically do the same thing as I've previously painted. The same applies for this one, but I'm going to add a little bit more yellow to warm up the green for this one and the next one, so you can see the variety of colors that you can create easily with this palette. I'd like to also mention that I'm only using drawing paper for this, so it's not watercolor paper, because I know from the comments that a lot of you are new to this and you may not have watercolor paper easily available. So I'd just like to show you that this is very doable on normal sketchbook paper, and as long as you're not doing heavy full page of washes, it should be fine. I'm also thinking of painting more on non-watercolor paper in the future, just so you can see that you don't have to have fancy materials if you're just starting out. We're finally ready to outline. For the first one, I'm just going to outline with my brush and watercolors. I'm using a small round brush for this one to make it faster and easier on myself. So what I'm going to do is pick up the same color as the leaf that you're going to be painting, but I use a few shades darker so that the color is still visible as an outline. And because we are using 2 shades of green, I'm also going to be using 2 shades of green that is a few shades darker than the painting for the outline. Of course though, I'm just showing you ways to experiment with outlining. You can also try your own thing, maybe even pick up a different color to make your outline. Now I'm just going to add a line in the middle of the leaves just for a simple added detail. This is what I usually do for my food illustrations, but I don't go around every single shape. Usually the point is only to clean up certain edges or certain parts of the paintings, especially if it's a light colored painting. And now I can never stop myself from adding a little bit of white with my pen. For me, this white just finishes off a painting nicely in my opinion. Here I'm just using my usual white uniball pen. I usually go over parts where the color is dark just to break it down a little bit so I didn't use it on the lighter green. Next, I'm using the 0.05 fineliner on the really light painting, and you can see even though the painting looks really pale and unfinished, just by adding even the thinnest outline, the painting looks much more finished. This is something that I used to do when I just started painting with watercolor, just because the black fineliner is so easily available, or sometimes I do use this small fineliner for really fine details that I might not be able to outline with my brush. So it is also okay to mix different mediums to outline your painting to just finish it off and make sure that the details are more defined. As you can see, my outlines are kind of messy. That's because with outlining with a pen, it also looks nice when you don't follow the exact outline of the painting, thus leaving a little bit of white or even going over painted parts of the subject. Personally, I find that these types of outlining gives it a nice handmade touch. Imperfections also give your paintings character, so don't be too scared of making mistakes. Now I'm going to be outlining with the colored liners. For this one, I'm going to be using the Stabilo red fineliner, and at first I thought I wasn't going to like this one because I wouldn't think of outlining with an opposite color, but because the red isn't too vibrant, and I think because my green is also on the warm side, it actually looks kind of interesting. It looks like it belongs together. I end up much preferring this one than the black outline because it just has more character. So as you can see, certain things might be unexpected even if something isn't going to work out in your head. Experiments like this might change your mind. And as usual, because of the dark colors, I just have to add a little bit of white to finish it off. This is optional, by the way, but I've always liked incorporating white pen or white paint into my watercolor paintings. And for the last one, I'm going to use this NYX brown pen, and I already know I will like this one because, well, brown and green belong together, especially when the green is already on the warmer side. Overall, I find that outlining with brown fineliner gives the painting more of an earthy tone, which I really like. So that's it for this video. I'm still impressed by how much I like the red outline on the leaves. I hope that you give this one a go if you feel like experimenting with outlines. As you can see, it's fun when unexpected things happen, and try it with anything that you have on hand at home and see that it might just turn into one of your favorite art supplies. If you give this a go, you can show me by tagging me on my Instagram at ig_nyanyani, or leave a comment and let me know what you think of this little exercise if you gave it a go. As usual, have a good day or night depending on where you are from, and I'll see you at the next one. Bye!